All right, everybody. Happy snow day. This is the first of a couple videos that I'm going to do about a couple of examples in your notes packet. So please, as you try to follow along, you're going to need to stop, as I'm probably going to go faster and have less pauses than normal in class. So make sure you pause, write down, keep up, rewind, and rewatch if you need to. That's one of the really important study skills when you're learning a lesson via video. So make sure you're doing that. And please, if you have any questions that even after rewinding and rewatching you still don't understand, you write them down and ask them when we get back to class, hopefully tomorrow. All right, so I'm going to do this problem. The first one is very mathy. Optimization is a very practical use of first derivative test to find absolute maxes and absolute minimums. Engineers use it. Lots of people get paid simply to find maximum and minimum optimizing values. However, most of the time there are many more variables. We have to learn it in 1 and 2 variables before we can go on. Multivariable calculus, calculus 3 will deal with multivariable calculus and how you get past 2, 3, 4 variables and how you do calculus with that. All right, so again, the first one's very mathy. It's not real applicable. It's very exciting for math teachers, but maybe not so many other people. But I'm also going to do this process that I'm not sure, other than it's a method of thinking to remember all your things. If you get stuck, it's something to go back to. It's something another math teacher I had in the past that I worked with used for both her math and science classes. She called it IFPU, information, find, formula, plug and chug in units, just as a way to help her students remember all the things you should do to do a word problem well and to think through it. So, first thing, let's reread the problem. Or let's read the problem. Find two numbers. Okay, wait a minute. That's already the find. I'm looking for my x and I'm looking for my y. You can call them whatever you want. I like x and y because I'm an algebra teacher. What can I say? Then the next thing, whose sum is 20. Okay, that's a given. I know that the sum is 20. All right, and whose product, not product, is multiplying, is as large as possible. Okay, we're maximizing. We need to maximize. We want to find an absolute max at that. So remember what we need to do to find an absolute max. We take a first derivative and we test the critical points. We find where f prime is 0, f prime d and e, and endpoints if there are any. All right, so second thing she has us do, write a primary formula. Well, we've already done that. Look, that's our primary formula. That's what we want to maximize. We already did that. Woo-woo. All right, now, determine a feasible domain. It says find two numbers. It doesn't say they have to be positive. It doesn't say they have to be whole numbers. It doesn't say they have to be integers. So all real numbers. This is going to go from negative infinity to infinity. Those are our endpoints, for lack of a better term. Any secondary formulas, well, we already did that as well. This is our secondary formula right there. That's given information. Now, we're going to use those. Notice it's two formulas, system of equations. So we've got a system of equations. We're going to be using substitution method quite a bit in this process. Now, we're going to use the two equations we have to solve the system, including take derivatives to find relative extrema. Now, this is where it's important that we understand we're maximizing product. So product is the one we need to take the derivative of. We need to find p prime, or dp dx. You could also find dp dy if you do it in terms of y. And as a matter of fact, if you take the derivative right now the way it is, you absolutely have to do implicit differentiation. It is harder that way, and I suggest highly that you do not. So what I think you should do, and what is most easy, is to take that product and substitute. Notice that you can solve for y in terms of x in this first one right here. Y is really 20 minus x. So I'm going to go into my product and change y to 20 minus x. And so I'm going to simplify first because it always makes taking derivatives easier. You could certainly do the product rule. but I think it's easier to take that version of it. So now I'm ready to find p prime or dp dx, and that's 20 minus 2x. My 20 doesn't look like a 20, so. All right, now we're ready to find our critical points. Remember, p prime equals 0. I think you can quickly see that means x equals 10. That's one critical point. We already talked about endpoints, infinity and 2 and negative infinity. There aren't really endpoints. And I think it's easy to see that there aren't any places that the derivative doesn't exist. So yeah, I'm going to take my little sign chart. I'm going to do it up here in this little space in step 3. And I'm going to put my critical points on there. 10, negative infinity. That's so not the right direction. Let's try that again. Negative infinity and infinity. All right, then I'm going to test it. I think if you put something like 0 in over here, you see that the derivative, remember we need to see what the derivative is doing. The derivative is positive 20 to be specific. And if I put something over here in, like 11, we get 20 minus 22. It's definitely negative. So my function p is increasing, then decreasing. That's got to be a relative max. As a matter of fact, because the function is strictly increasing and then strictly decreasing, it's clearly an absolute max. To actually test all those critical points and do p of negative infinity, I think if you put into this version of p, it's the easiest to see, 20x, minus x squared. Now, that is an end behavior model. We really can't plug infinity in with two infinities. We'd have an infinity here and infinity here. Can't do that. So we really need to use an end behavior model. We need to take a limit because we're going to in negative infinity in this case. So the end behavior model is really only this part, the negative x squared. So we have negative infinity squared. That's negative infinity because that's going to be a positive infinity when you square it, and then negative. All right, I think it's quick to also see the same deal is true with positive infinity. Now, so what does that tell you? We have no absolute min, but we still have one more critical point to check. We still need to do p of 10. All right, when you put in p, I'm going to use that same formula, the same version of the formula, 20 times 10 minus 10 squared, that's 200 minus 100, that's going to give me 100. That's my absolute max product. There it is, that's the absolute max. Now, it didn't answer the question. The question asked find two numbers. I answered what the max product was. So let's actually answer the question, and it is best in all cases to answer that question in a complete sentence, including units. So your screen's going to move a little bit. That's always kind of a disconcerting. All right, so if x is 10, and we said x is 10 gives us our max product of 100, then what's y? Well, didn't we say y up here, right here, is 20 minus x? So y equals 20 minus x. Well, that's clearly 10 as well. So when both numbers are 10, then we have a maximum product of 100. I did not write that in a complete sentence. I said it as such. There aren't units, so we don't need to include those. But that's how you do a problem like this, and that's the thought process you think through. I'm going to pause now and then start my other video. I'll upload this for you to start.